So let's get started. So from the topic we covered this morning, I left a lot of stuff aside because we are not going to be able to develop that. Perhaps tomorrow in our Q&A session, if we have some more comments or reflection on that topic, we can share. But I want to tackle the other topics I chose for this second part of the session today. So this has to do with the radical critique of materialistic science and the cyclical framework of evolution. It is something that is not in the shlokas, it is in the digression, in the long digression, as I said, longer than the stanza itself that HPB has there. But I think it's one of the most interesting points, along with the monadic aspects and so on. But this is a very special topic. So having considered the cosmic meaning of the fall of the angels and what I wanted to do is to consider the three evolutionary currents that we didn't cover this morning that converge to shape humanity. We can now move toward a deeper complementary perspective, one that reveals why the esoteric view necessarily collides with the reductionist model of modern science. This is a decisive turning point in the secret doctrine, where its metaphysical grandeur becomes inseparable from its critique of materialism and from cyclical conception of evolution. H.P. Blavatsky insists that the esoteric doctrine completely rejects the notion that man descends from the ape. Instead, she declares that the anthropoids are a bastard branch, a kind of byproduct of an anomalous union between early semi-conscious humanity and certain animal species in the later periods of the third root race. In other words, the ape does not precede the man, it derives from it. The secret doctrine explicitly states man belongs to a kingdom clearly distant from that of the animals. Humanity existed before the mammalian order reached its present complexity, and to modern science this appears an absurd inversion, yet to the esoteric view it is entirely coherent because on the one hand the evolution is cyclical and not linear. In science we tend to see everything is linear. Not nowadays. Nowadays we are facing some changes in science. Many new ideas are coming, giving fresh air and making it not so linear. But we are talking of a science from the times of HPB, some things still continue to be the same as in the Victorian times. Secondly, each kingdom emanates from the higher during its own descending phase. And finally, humanity represents a spiritual midpoint, a kind of bridge between divine consciousness and material form. This concept transforms evolution into a sacred drama, not a mechanical process. It portrays the universe as an unfolding of intelligence, purpose, and rhythm, not as a blind struggle of chance and mutation. The anthropoids are the denaturalized copy of primitive humanity, a bastard branch grafted onto the human trunk itself. We face there the error of the third root race. The origin of the anthropoids goes back to the third root race, the Lemuro-Atlanteans, and these beings, who were giants, were gods, between quotation marks, by virtue of their spirituality and purity, although they lacked sense. As human beings, they were still devoid of reason, and this occurred before the full infusion of manas. We have the promiscuous crossbreeding. These gigantic human beings, mindless in the intellectual sense, engaged in sexual union with animal species inferior to themselves. At this stage, of course, the human of the third root race, not yet endowed with manas, had already become divided into two biological sexes. Then you can correct me if I am wrong in any explanation, especially Pablo, if you see I'm making any mistakes on the interpretation, please correct me. And finally, the karmic byproduct of this, the unnatural or let's say unexpected union, one might say perhaps the unwise from the standpoint of a greater evolutionary scheme, unwise union that gave rise to that missing link which in later ages, the Miocene, became the remote ancestor of the present-day ape. The term bastard branch that is used in the text thus acquires profound significance. It marks the point of interference between a spiritual intention and physical deviation, reminding us that nature itself is moral and that consciousness, once misplaced, creates karmic consequences and even at the biological level. So far, do we have any comments or reflections about this? Any different idea of this narration, this part of the text? Yes.
Yes, I have heard, and I've never looked into it myself, that there are some beings, especially in certain species of the apes, that may be still ensouled.
Still?
Ensouled. That is, they have the rudiments of the human soul.
Yeah. That is a question I have to do in the end. What kind of inner life do they have? What kind of maturity they have reached? And what kind of beings they are?
But this has come up when, with the idea that evolution into the human kingdom is now blocked to the animal species. A certain time has passed by. Yeah. But there are lingerers who are still part of our humanity, but in animal bodies.
Yes, difficult. Yes, Elena.
I think the anthropogenesis talks about 5 groups of humans, and the lower group ensouls, the lowest group ensouls the anthropoids, I think.
Well, in the anthropogenesis, it talks about 7 kinds of human monads.
Was it
7?
7.
But these ones are not part of that. This is kind of a mistake. It is something that was not expected to happen. This was like un desfase. How would you say something?
Yeah, like a deviation.
A deviation from the normal or expected.
Yeah, HPV said
course.
some apes have some human monads there, but I don't remember her going into more detail.
Into more detail,
Yeah.
yes. It's a very important thing. I had some questions here that I wanted to share with you, but perhaps for later. Yes, let's continue a little bit more, and then I'll try to put this question there. But it's not what you asked, Elena, is if it has to do with some ones of those parts of humanity. But
because
this is...
they have human monads,
yeah.
And I wondered if they became opportunities for the lowest class of human monads to incarnate, not exactly in human form, but because they are the exception to the closed door, you know how the door closed, so that animals can no longer become humans.
Yeah.
So those who are still incarnate in those bodies, I think, are the exceptions. They seem to be in animal bodies, but they are with human monads. And I may be forgetting now, but something like that.
Okay. I think that the door was closed at the beginning of the fourth race.
Somewhere in the fourth
Yes.
race.
And then these apes or these animals were born during the third root race. So one can ask oneself why they are an exception. No? But so I think those are different things. You know, this is an error, real error, and this is not the expected course of things. With
It happened twice, right?
it
With
happened twice.
Twice.
Not this error, as far as I know.
It happened twice. The sexual union with the animals happened twice.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I only remember this one.
Yeah,
And,
she didn't talk much about
Yeah.
it, so we have little information. Yes.
That's when I said
Okay.
shame.
Richard.
They went covered with
We
shame.
You
have-
go ahead.
Richard, hi.
So this relationship again, at the time when the human mind was not clear, was this all the human race or just certain parts of the humans that made that mistake?
I think that only part of the humanity. Yes, it was part of the humanity, not all of it.
The ones that didn't have the spark,
Yeah.
because the souls hadn't really or some of them, not all of them, some of the ones that didn't have the spark of mind,
Yeah.
Blavatsky says.
Some of them were incarnations or directly of the gods. As to say, some of them had the spark, and some other didn't have even the spark.
Yeah.
So I think it's only those last ones.
Now, did you read that we humans were, or human prototypes, we were giants at that time when this happens? And we have sex with small gorillas or small apes? Or that doesn't sound good, but did you read that we were giants? At
We
that
were
time?
giant, but
And then the
animals
small
already.
animals, we have
from-
sex with small animals? Or, I
No,
mean,
animals also were, everything was gigantic.
but we have,
Yeah.
I don't think we have found giant gorillas, like King Kong. I don't think they're, I mean, only in Hollywood. But I think that
Quite a creature.
it's very hard for a 9, 10 feet human to have sex with a 2-foot gorilla.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's something,
in the Mahatma letters they say that those remains, the very few that are still there because of are at the bottom of the ocean, because Lemuria is now at the bottom of the ocean. So in the Mahatma letter says, in the future your scientists may find some of these gigantic remains at the bottom of the ocean, whatever survived the huge pressure and all that.
Yeah.
So that's why we haven't found.
Well, we know that geology is not that clear either of the
Yeah.
planet and what the secret doctrine says, the movement. I mean, we have land here that are 5 billion years, you know,
Yes.
and it's up here, you know. We can dig and find. I don't think it's that accurate, what the secret doctrine,
Also,
the
we-
way they explain it.
we-
It's not, you know, that's my thinking.
We should take into account how long it happened,
Yeah.
how long back it happened for the remainings to stay until today. I mean, they are bones, but from how many years ago? Millions. Millions
How
and
old is
millions.
Lemuria? I don't
The
know.
Lemuria, I think that the man was completed 18,000 years ago.
18 million.
Million,
18
sorry.
million, that's nothing geologically.
Yeah, but I think it was before that.
Yeah, Lemurians were before,
Yeah,
I mean, the beginning of Lemuria,
yes.
but during the Lemurians, we acquired the spark, 18 million. 18 million is nothing geologically. I mean, these mountains are more than 18 million.
Yeah, I'm sure we will start finding some remainings of those
Right,
times.
right.
There are many fake findings everywhere. You have seen reels from.
What's interesting, she drew a tree of life showing that, and I haven't been able to really make heads and tails of that. I don't take the secret doctrine as the anthropogenesis or the astronomy 100%,
No.
you know, as perfect,
No.
no
not at
errors,
all.
because these are teachings of teachings of teachings, and
No.
in time, like the telephone goes, you know,
No,
game
it's-
of the kids,
Even
it has to
in
be
the,
interpreted and written down
yeah.
and text, and you know.
And in the
Oh.
times of the secret doctrine was reason.
It's difficult. It's not really a manual
No.
like we have in a university.
No.
Yeah,
at all.
but
It's not.
in the same way, what science says is also not a manual.
Yeah, I'm not saying
because
it is. I'm not
all
saying
the theory of, you know, the plates, tectonic plates and all that, is just a theory. It's not something that they have found
Right,
real
Completely
proofs.
validated.
And actually now they are found in a continent underneath New
Right.
Zealand, a continent underneath Africa,
right.
that they don't know what they are, and now they are seeing that there may be this, so.
No, I understand the theosophists like to see
No.
the secret doctrine as perfect.
No.
She didn't talk about plates, so there are no plates. But this plate is moving. LA is going to be split, regardless if we believe it or not.
Or
There are
it
two
will, or it
plates,
will go down and up.
You know,
Yeah.
the Gulf of California is splitting all the way to San Francisco.
Yeah.
So it's good to have land here in Ohio, near the ocean.
We are going to be the east coast of the new continent.
So we're going to have this San Andrea Fault split regardless if we believe or not.
Yeah.
So when Blavatsky speak of humans at that time, the shape that she gave is ape humans with a dash. Ape, you know, it's that ape
Like,
face, and that's what we're finding in the fossils.
Yeah.
We're not finding you and me, you know, as perfect prototype of the fifth race, right? I mean, Eve, me, right? But we're
Only
finding
the two of
ape
you.
human, and that's the word that she used at that time, ape humans, physically, right? So that's very interesting, that she used the word that scientists today are using.
Let's
Interesting.
have in mind that when she wrote the secret doctrine, these branches of science were very new,
Right.
and
She
they
was-
were creating names and categories and the names of the periods of time, and you can see all along the secret doctrine numbers that are completely inaccurate according to the current values that science considers.
Yeah.
But even so, I think science is going to get some surprises when it is already having some surprises with satellites and using lasers in order to scan in the depth of Earth, and they are finding incredible things. Yes, so let's wait for a while. I think science, modern science, is pushing very hard into the occult philosophy. Yes. So, is there any question, Paul?
I found here in the Secret Doctrine, first volume, page 185. The page has the title, the man or the ape, which the first? Which the first?
Which is first?
Which came first? Or
In the
which
fourth?
came first?
During the
Or
fourth
the
round?
ape, which the first?
Oh, it's a title on top of the page.
Ah,
Yeah, but it's very interesting page because what is in very small letter you say, such anthropoids form an exception because they were not intended by nature but are the direct product and creation or of senseless men.
yes.
So and the rest is very interesting too.
Yeah.
because also mention Darwin.
Yeah, we're going to develop that part here. That part is for me delicious. So yes. So if we invert the Darwinian hierarchy, man becomes not the product of nature, but its crown and instrument. This is something that remains so until a balance is achieved, which must come with the succeeding root races. We, in our fifth root race, are on the path seeking equilibrium between spiritual vision and the refined, subtle intellect. This is manas, intrinsically united with the intuition, buddhi. This is the union of what is called, we could consider parallel to Hermes, which is Mercury, and that represents the higher manas, and with Aphrodite or Venus, which represents buddhi. So thereby attaining the state of a primordial hermaphrodite, Hermes and Aphrodite, hermaphrodite, which inwardly translates into the union of buddhi and manas. That is, the restoration of direct spiritual vision together with a fully developed intellect. When individual consciousness turns inward, the conjunction of manas and buddhi occurs. This conjunction is permanent in the spiritually regenerated human being. The loss of vision is not a biological accident, but a spiritual necessity. The price of becoming self-conscious, of perceiving through contrast and limitation. However, this eye of the spirit remains latent, and its reawakening will mark a future stage in human evolution, when intellect and intuition are once again united. Thus, the pineal gland stands as a microcosmic symbol of a great cosmic arc, the descent of a spirit into matter and its future reascent toward divinity. I'd really appreciate if you have any comments on this, because before I continue, I am going now to start talking a little bit more about the pineal gland and this and what happened with time that is related to this topic. I don't know if you want to add any reflections or comments as of now, or should I continue?
You associate Venus, you said Mercury, and Venus, which elements are they associated with again, please?
¿Con qué principio Venus y Mercurio?
I am associating Mercury with higher manas and Venus with buddhi. Am I okay?
What is Venus associated with again?
Buddhi.
Buddhi. Okay. And it's interesting that Venus is another name for phosphorus, which is another name for Lucifer.
Yeah.
And which is the light giver.
Yeah.
And it's considered, of course, Lucifer is considered to be a bad guy.
The bad guy. Yeah. It's interesting how HPV develops this stuff into more detail in the instructions in what is called what is known by us in Argentina in our edition, the volume 6. She speaks of the connection between buddhi and manas, and so Venus and Mercury, and so Hermes and Aphrodite, and so the hermaphrodite. So the hermaphrodite in the spiritual sense is this connection in the inner life of the principles, not necessarily the physical aspect or functions of an hermaphrodite itself. So, materialistic science, according to secret doctrine, those times studies only the surface of phenomena. It dissects forms but ignores the principle of the consciousness that animates them. In doing so, it confuses effects with causes, mistaking motion for life and organization for intelligence. The esoteric philosophy, while admiring science for its rigor and precision, reminds it that consciousness precedes form. Mind is not a byproduct of matter, but its architect, and the universe is a living organism not an inert machine. Hence, modern science's tendency to explain mind as an emergent property of neural complexity is, from the esoteric point of view, equivalent to saying that music arises from the wood of the violin. I mean, this is a metaphor. You know? The instrument may be necessary, but the musician is something else. You know? So the true function of science should be to resacralize knowledge. This should be the real function of science, resacralize knowledge, to rediscover the spiritual intelligence within natural law, not to deny it. This is what I think. I'm not quoting parts of the text, I'm just sharing with you my thoughts. And as I said before, I personally think that the science is pushing very hard, very hard the limits towards the occult world, although will not admit it. It will never admit it. It will be always working very close to the floor, to the ground, as science wants or likes to work with senses, physical senses, and its extensions and the limitations it has. But it's finding, for example, I remember an experiment that is called the Global Consciousness Project. Do you know it? Okay. The thing is that this project is prepared especially for getting numbers from a device that produces numbers in a, how do you say?
Exponential?
No, they are, no.
Aleatorio.
Random numbers with a uniform distribution. I mean, every number is equally probable to appear. These devices are put along many places around the earth, and devices are created so as to give us a perfect uniform distribution of random numbers. But even when they have been created under the most hardest standards for science, when something is about to happen, or something is happening, or something happened and was a shock for humanity, they all react all over the world. And so science has the numbers, has the results created in the way she wants to have them, but then there's no explanation unless you accept that there's something else beyond that. So this is what is happening with many experiments in science. It happens also with many models, astrophysical models, to explain the origin of the universe. There are many models that are creating doubts about how useful the Big Bang theory could be, and personally I do not consider this a theory. It's a conjunction of a lot of bunches from science to try to explain different phases of a process, but it's not harmonious theory. It is wrong to say Big Bang theory. It is just a conjecture. How do you say conjetura? Conjecture. So many conjectures are being challenged nowadays with results.
Could I say one more thing?
Yes, of course.
Going back to the apes and humans.
Yeah.
There's a book written by G.D. Brucker called Man and Evolution, and he goes through anatomical aspects showing that the ape is not related as the forerunner of the human. The main thing I would point out that's very clear and easy to understand, the foot that we have no ways looks like a hand, correct? But the ape's feet look like hands because they can climb with their feet too. When you go through the formation of the embryo and the fetus in a human being, you will never see the foot look like a hand. It always looks like a regular foot that we expect now. There are many other things he pointed out, but I think that's one of the simplest ones, going back to that question of apes and humans. How can we prove that we didn't come from apes? and he comes up with a number of other things, but that one I think is very simple for most people to understand, and including, of course, scientists.
No, thank you, Richard. Yes.
Modern biology doesn't say any longer that human beings came from apes. They are saying what Blavatsky was saying at the time, more or less, and they are saying that both apes and humans came from a common ancestor and are parallel lines, not that they derive from apes.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they moved toward what Blavatsky said in The Secret Doctrine.
Just a small step we need in order to be in the secret doctrine theories, for the science to get into that, yes. So all of the creation, says the secret doctrine, moves according to the law of cycles, the rhythm of emanation and return. Do you see how fast I learned that to say law? After so many repetitions and cyclical repetition. Every being from atom to star follows an arc of descent into objectivity and ascent towards subjectivity. Let's think about the first drawings I did at the beginning. Forming an eternal spiral rather than a straight line. This spiral motion reconciles apparent opposites, progress and repetition, freedom and law, because law indicates determinism, indicates order, indicates rationality, is an expression of a cosmic dialogue, is dialectic, but then we have free will. So we can combine those things that are apparently opposites, but they are not. I have some ways, I cannot do it now here, but I have done in many of my talks to show how you can explain karma, putting together the possibility to choose different causes anytime, and at the same time determinism is there always. This is like a system, a chaotic system in mathematics. It is completely possible to think of that, and there are many examples from the science that could allow us to reconcile these apparent opposites. Okay? Yes.
So are you saying, what's your opinion about free will and determinism? Can you say it in one line?
In a short.
So what karma, do we have free will, or we are predetermined to do certain things?
You want a one-liner?
A little bit, yeah, one-liner. Let me tell you the question in 10 lines.
Because
No.
it's such a simple topic, you should be able to answer it.
Okay,
online.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
The idea is that karma is a law, and an aspect of a law is determinism. It is not never ever is chaos. It cannot be chaos. It cannot be arbitrary at all. So, but at any time you can put new causes into motion, because we have this manas in us, which lets us put new causes into the river of the determinism. So as we are moving, we can just put new causes and turn our road towards one way or the other, but all the time deterministically. I mean, this is not predestination, because you, at any time, between quotation marks, because what is time here? This is something that we have to develop, and I think there are ways to talk about that, but this is not getting simple. So at any time you can put new causes into action, and this transforms the equation. So the formula or the law is the same, and it applies. You can have A plus B, then C. Always, if you always have A plus B, then you will always get C. But it happens that in the flow of life, you never have twice A plus B. You have A plus B plus epsilon. And this is a new number, new result. And then you never have again A plus B plus epsilon. Then you have another new cause in the formula. So the determinism is preserved, but the result is different. So you have the possibility to put new causes into action, so you can change things, but it is not rigid. It is not a predestination, and even so, you have determinism there.
What about the future?
And what about the future? What is future? What is future? What is present? And what is well? This is difficult, Marcia, because we should move from the line of time to. We should do an exercise to get rid of the idea of time and think of us as beings that are a summatory of causes and effects that are not yet triggered, and all of us together with the entire surrounding space until the boundless space. So we are that thing. We are that thing, and in each movement or change we do, we are in a karmic moment. And we go from a karmic moment to another karmic moment, and the line connecting is not necessarily time. So each time you choose new actions or put into action some causes, you are choosing from a bunch of options that is getting closer to you. Try to imagine an infinitesimal time before that moment, an infinitesimal time after that moment. This is pure calculus. So an infinitesimal time before you take the decision, nature entirely is showing you a bunch of options. Yes? So when you are there and you connect, you decide. And that is the present. And so we work as a summatory of presents. There's never past or future. You have only one present every time you decide the causes of the moment. But the entire object, the entire organism that is the nature, that is space, accommodates the best options. And the options is not only one, are many, and you choose, and there is your free will. But then there is law, and the law implies that you go moving into some direction.
But the law of correlation, would it be that the vibrations are pulling those options together?
Again, Anania, I didn't get you, sorry.
So if you were saying that there's all these options,
Yes.
you know, so would that be based on vibration coming together?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think that while you are moving, you are transforming until the end of the space that is endless.
Right.
You are moving and transforming everything, and so the lines that approach to you as options also are transforming all the time. And then we have this surface, this dimensionless surface in which we take the decision. This is the present. But this happens all the moments we move along our lives. And these are different karmic moments. So for me, there is no past or future, just presence that is accommodated entirely in all the universe, as to say, because universe is a small word for what we are meaning here, the space as is considered in the secret doctrine. Yes, Martin.
A short question then.
It was not that one-liner you saw.
Yeah, but tell me in one line. In your philosophy of time, past, present, and future, can you predict the future? Since there is no future and present, that allows you to predict.
Your question brought to my mind something that I was the other day we were joking with Pablo and Lucas about this movie Doctor Strange, in which he meditates for a while. He sits and he starts meditating, and he that has that kind of internal development and that connection with the inner world. He meditates and he finds that there are 40 million possibilities, and that only one is the only one that will not kill them. So I think that we could, with time,
So,
again,
yes
time.
or no?
No, yes, I
Can you
think
predict?
I think we could predict in terms of tendencies, and I think that the bigger is the collective of beings that you are considering, the easier it is to predict where it goes.
Probabilities, you
Yeah, in terms of
knowing
probability.
the law, you can see the probabilities for things to happen, but you cannot say which one will happen.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
That's what you think?
Yes.
That's
I
what quantum physics says.
Yeah.
No, I'm
I-
asking what he thinks.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
like Pablo is saying, yes,
Quantum physics is still moving.
it is still moving.
So you believe you can or you cannot predict? Oh, they're saying the probability.
A probability.
There is a probability.
Probability.
Well, that's the standard,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
And then there are many yes, Sunny, many possibilities to add new causes, not only by you, but also by all the ones that surround you.
Sure. That's
Surround
the
you.
social karma,
Yeah,
community
and
karma.
and that's why
country
it's
karma.
impossible to predict exactly, because
Right.
you can only give a
Yeah.
possibility, probability of what could happen, and then move forward. But yes, predictability, I don't think so. But yes, you can have an idea of where to go. I mean, and it's easier, it's more difficult if you are speaking of an individual than if you are speaking of a bunch of people, like a family, or then like a nation, or the bigger is the collective,
More
the
data,
easier is the, yes, the
question is larger.
the equation is larger, but the possibilities to predict where it is going to are bigger. The smaller is the piece of the space.
Right.
Until the limit of only one person, it is impossible.
Thanks.
So that's why Master say it is impossible to know what is in your karma. How are you going to say something or anything about someone if you cannot know even what is in your own karma?
Right.
And it's linked to the entire space. Yes, Maria. You were right. No, Annie, sorry.
Jerry
Jerry. Jerry?
Jerry, go
Hi.
ahead.
Yeah, thank you. On behalf of the group, I'd like to apologize to you for Martin putting you on the spot over and over again. His love of Plato is too great. He can't help himself not to try and contradict each and every point he hears.
So,
But I'm just teasing him.
what is it called? Wedlock?
The topic at hand, I suspect the sage sees tendencies that are in play under the surface. They're not visible. And from those tendencies, there's a likelihood of a certain course of action. Now, I don't think, as you were mentioning, I think you're quite right in that there's no certainty to it. But you might say the odds are in favor of a certain outcome based on tendencies that are in play. So that's one thought. Going back to the free will question, which Martin threw at you unfairly. You could say, one point of view, one argument you might make is that there's a distinction to be made between free will and free choice. There's been a number of theosophical students I've heard make the point that it's probably more accurate that human beings have free choice than they have absolute free will. So consider this. Choices are made within a context. So you live in a certain country, you live in, you have certain aptitudes, the range of possibilities is limited. It's not unlimited. So, I want to be Superman, or I want to be on the Dodgers. I don't have the free will to do that. There are certain limitations that would prohibit that possibility. But I can choose to try and be Superman or play for the Dodgers. I have that freedom to choose a direction. So that there may be more nuance to this idea of free will and free choice than what immediately meets the eye.
Thanks, Jerry. I think that you are right. I like more the expression free choice, and it aligns more to what I have said.
More
No?
than one life.
Yeah,
But the last question,
the last.
do you think that a human like Amanasa, no mind, is sinning by having contact with an animal like is placed here? Is there a sin that we have to pay for it, or gorillas in the mist has to pay for not having mind and having, sexual contact with?
Well, this is a question I had for inquiry, meditative inquiry, because I don't have a reply for that. Yes.
Well, what keeps coming back to mind, going back to the earlier conversation, is that the consequences of what occurred are being played out in modern science right now, because modern science is working on a false reality based on what occurred, or a reality that wasn't intended originally. So I think if you're saying there are consequences, Martin, if there's a sin or a consequence, the consequence is that modern science seems to have been thrown off, and we've lost the ability to look at the truth about humanity and its evolution. They've taken us off course in that way, and so now we have to make up ground.
Yeah.
It feels like right now, as Pablo said, they're only now coming to look at it in a new light. So it's like we lost some ground, is what it feels like to me.
Okay.
Yes. Maria, do you have a question or comment?
I was just thinking about your earlier statement of the need in science to make knowledge more sacred, to secularize the knowledge. And it reminded me of the quote that Ananya used yesterday afternoon, which was from a famous cosmologist who
Yes.
said that what's needed most in science, and especially cosmology, is a subtle change from knowledge to feeling.
Yeah.
But feeling in the sense that a more universalized, impersonal kind of respect and love. And these cosmologists are beginning to speak about self-sacrifice and love as an aspect of the universal consciousness. So things are changing
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah, and not so slowly. With the new discoveries from the James Webb Telescope, there are a lot of advances in a huge, in an exponential velocity. I think there are many new things to put into stuff. I follow several. How do you say divulgadores?
Yeah, those people who do popular science.
Popular science.
Popularize the
Yeah,
scientific
but
knowledge.
serious ones. I have a couple of them, and I continue looking at many news every day, and it surprises me how fast we are reaching the limits of the occult world. How science is moving so fast to that limit, and yes, much faster than what we expected, perhaps.
And in reference again to, please clarify for me, the Laya Center changed from the time between the different levels of consciousness and matter. They think that the black holes are associated with that. Am I correct on that or not?
I didn't hear properly.
Associated with what?
Richard.
Black holes are related to the Alaya centers.
Ah, well, I think they might be. I always keep a distance between what science says and what we are triggered to think because of science. I always keep them separated. I use science only as suggestions for my inner insights or whatever, or reflections. Because if you make science say or confirm any affirmation, any sentence from the spiritualistic point of view, you are profanating science. But I personally think that black holes could be related to what we call Laya centers in a general point of view in the secret doctrine. They might be one kind of Laya centers. I don't think the black hole completely define the idea of a black hole, of a Laya center, sorry. But it's suggestive.
You say profanate science, or you meant profanate?
Profanate
Means profane science or spirituality? What is
No. If you use science to make an affirmation, make a sentence saying science confirms what I suggest from the inner world, then you are profanating science.
Yeah.
You are making science say something that cannot say.
I see.
And finally, you atrophy it.
Yeah.
And it is not necessary. Leave science work as it knows how to do. And it's slow, but it's moving fast now. Yes, Susan.
Yeah, not to say that it's what everybody's doing, because I think we all look to science and hope to make these connections. But Ken Wilber, the transpersonal psychologist, did mention it's kind of it can be a trap sometimes to lean on science and say, hey, science is proving this because science can move so fast. And you say science has proven this, and then science moves on, and where are you? Not that that should stop anybody from reaching out and making comparisons and things like that, but that's another issue.
Yes, it's an issue.
Um,
I have my own fight with quantum physics, because quantum physics is something that it sounds so strong, and is so easily to sell books and kiosks, and have kiosks and new tasks on I don't know, quantic medicine and things like that. That I'm always fighting with this subtlety. Yeah. Quantic meditation. Yes, a quantic. Why do you say quantic if you don't have an idea of what quantic world is? Is very precise. Is one of the most largely developed theories in the history, from the beginning of the 1860s, I think, with experiments and observations, and then finally in the 1930s with the accommodation of all the experiments into a mathematical system, and then all the things that has proven all along the 20th century. So it's one of the most beautiful theories we have, but we cannot say that quantum physics is proving something from the inner world. We have just some points that trigger possibilities for us to think how it could be beyond the limits of our physical world. Yes, is there anyone else?
Richard hated this. Richard, go ahead. Just cool out, Richard.
Richard, did you have another question?
Just again in reference to the black hole and lie, etc. Keep it, as you were saying, Ariel, simple. Would you say that they think it comes, those are the areas where energy turns into matter, or matter turns into energy? To keep it very simple-minded.
Sorry,
according to science.
He is making a comment or a question.
No, a question if you think that in the black holes energy turns into matter or into energy.
Well, we don't really know what happens in the inside a black hole. We don't know yet. So there are conjectures about that only, but we know that the black holes drag matter and also emanates radiation. So could be. Why not? It could be. We don't have the final version of that until someone of us can go there and take some information to bring, do the sacrifice. Yes, Annie.
Jerry, go ahead.
Jerry.
Thank you. Sorry to chime in again. It just occurred to me that both the symbolism and allegory that we find in organized religions comes from the secret doctrine. When I say secret doctrine, I'm not speaking of the book now. I'm speaking of the parent doctrine, the Gupta Vidya, right? Similarly, the scientific method that is so hailed in the scientific world and is so valuable for free thought also itself comes from the secret doctrine and the Gupta
Yeah,
Vidya.
completely sure.
So in both of these situations, both of these influences that the parent doctrine, the Gupta Vidya has had on humanity, in both cases, there's an emphasis played upon freedom of thought, freedom of exploration,
Yeah,
and a denial, not a denial, but uh, a danger put on concretizing and dogmatizing. So, you know, what we benefited from in regards to science in the last couple hundred years is the shackles of free thought that were thrust on a lot of the Western world have been challenged.
mm.
And but I think you know, in Secret Doctrine, in the review of the first books, she makes it very clear that the scientific method of checking and testing and verifying all comes from the parent doctrine.
Yeah. Yes, I completely agree with you. There is a statement in the summary of the Cosmogenesis uh, in which HPB declares the scientific method. It's the same declaration if you are used to or familiar with the scientific method. You go to to that summary and read it, and it's exactly the same. The only difference is that she expands to all the departments of nature, and she does not limit it to the physical senses only. So to all the faculties that we have or might have in the future. So she speaks about the adepts and rounds and rounds of adepts making the same experiments and checking like peer reviews and so on and so forth. So the method is there and is the same. It only is not limited to the physical world. So I'd like to finish with just this, and we have the break now. 1 minute?
One
No.
second.
Yeah.
That it is the same because the adepts created the scientific method according to Blavatsky, Bacon, and all of them were adepts.
Yeah. Yeah. Most probably, yes. 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 So we were talking about this spiral motion that reconciled apparent opposites, and we were saying about freedom and will and law. So also the reconciliation between individuality and the unity of all life. This is also something that is reconciled. Each cycle then repeats the general pattern but on a higher octave. This is the formula. In the Secret Doctrine, we are exhorted to find the formula, the synthesis of everything that is applied, mutatis mutandis, to every level of a scale of a being. So this is what is repeated everywhere. The evolution then is not a progress in the modern sense, but the gradual reawakening of consciousness through experience. And from this perspective, the Secret Doctrine can affirm that the spiritual evolution is the goal and that physical evolution is merely the instrument for its accomplishment. And finally, to go to the break, this cyclical universe is governed by one, as we know, supreme principle, that is karma. And karma is not punishment, but merely a metaphysical justice that ensures universal harmony. Here, every cause produces an exact consequence or consequences. Nothing is lost, nothing is arbitrary. Hence, sin, we were talking about the sin. Sin in the esoteric sense means disharmony. Any action that disturbs equilibrium within the great web of life. This is the meaning of sin for me, according to this, in this framework. From this view, even scientific materialism is not wrong, but karmically necessary. The inevitable reaction to past ages of superstition and dogmatic belief. It represents a stage in humanity's spiritual development, one that forces the mind to exercise discrimination and reason before recovering its intuitive sight. Thus, materialism is not an end but a transition only, the night before the dawn of a new synthesis where science and spirituality will converge. Let's get started. I will try to go to the last point, and we'll have to sacrifice some points because we have only 35 minutes or so. So let me say just a few last words about science. And the esoteric teaching foresees a time when humanity will reconcile the polarities it has artificially separated: science and religion, for example, intellect and intuition, and spirit and matter, as we are talking today. So this future synthesis will not abolish science, but will transmute its method. It is the idea, to transform its method, elevating it from analysis to contemplation, and going from description to participation, being part, not just observing. I'm here and the observed things there. I'm being part. So in that new mode of knowledge, to know will be to become. To study the cosmos will mean to awaken its reflection within ourselves. It's my idea of what science is where it is going to. The mind that once caused the fall will thus become the redeemer, for only through the full development of intelligence, disciplined, purified, and illuminated, can be restored the unity once lost. That is the secret meaning of Lucifer, the light bearer. The mind that falls into matter so that matter can rise again to spirit. So now I want to, let me continue with this topic. Having followed the long arc of descent into matter, we now reach the moment of return, the discovery of the divine awareness which has never truly been lost, only veiled. All that was described, the fall of the angels this morning, the birth of the mind, the ascent through cycles, points to a single purpose, the awakening of consciousness. In the secret doctrine, the human being is portrayed not as a mere inhabitant of the universe, but as a mirror and synthesis. Every law that governs the cosmos operates also within us. Every hierarchy of being is its resonance in the structure of our own consciousness. Just as a spirit descends into matter through 7 planes, so the human soul unfolds through 7 principles. The Laya centers, the neutral points of the cosmos where energy changes state, correspond to states of consciousness within us, thresholds where the finite opens into the infinite. Thus, man in the microcosmic is the microcosmic bridge linking heaven and earth. I like to look at the human being like, rather than a man or human being, let's say human being, again, I don't like the word man, like a connection or link filament of a lamp between earth and the heaven. I mean, like we are, as human beings, we are like that. We are the resistance, the filament that connects both poles, as to say. Now, nature has created several kingdoms before ours: elemental, mineral, vegetable, animal, then us, then also the arc of descendant devas, and then the connection. The connection is the human, complete human being. So through him, through the microcosmos, the human being, the universe becomes aware of itself. This is the sacred function of humanity, to transform existence into self-knowledge. For this reason, the sages say that man is the thought of God thinking of himself. I don't know if it is a very literal translation from the Spanish or if you already know this sentence in English as well. We have in all levels dual journey, descent or descent and return. Every cycle, whether cosmic or human, follows the same dual motion. Involution, I don't like this word, but you understand what it means. Involution or descent and evolution or ascent. Through involution, this is a metaphor, right? Spirit condensating into what we call matter, but we have already seen that they are the same thing. There's only movement. Okay. Through involution, the spirit sacrifices its unity to enter form. Through evolution, it recovers the unity enriched by experience. This is the eternal rhythm of the great breath. The first half of the cycle, the arc of descent, where spirit plunges into matter, creating vehicles for its manifestation, the elemental, the mineral, vegetable, animal, and human kingdoms. And then we have the second half, the arc of ascent, where consciousness awakens within those forms, recognizing itself as divine and returning toward its source. The human being stands at the turning point of that arc, where matter and spirit meet, as to say. We have already talked about that. So the human being is both the fruit of the past and also the seed of the future, if we can talk about future. And then I'm going to jump into a related topic that is not in the stanza 6, but is in the anthropogenesis and is connected to it. That is the dormant eye of the spirit, the pineal gland. So before I jump into that topic, I don't know if you want to add any comments or reflections as of now of what I said before about science, about destiny of humanity and so on. No? In the room? No, the virtual room? Okay. Everyone's quiet. So let's talk about this. In the depth of our brain is the pineal gland, that vestigial third eye, which, as we saw earlier, once served as a spiritual organ or direct perception. Thought it is dormant, it continues to bear witness to a higher potential. Although it is not explicitly mentioned in this stanza of Cosmogenesis, it is extensively developed in other parts of the work, mainly in Anthropogenesis and also in the esoteric teachings of HPV. And we have already mentioned that stanza 6 of Cosmogenesis directly jumps into Anthropogenesis once it starts describing what happens during the fourth round of life in our globe. There exists a vital correlation between the physiological centers and the higher principles in man, or in human being. We have the pituitary gland, that is the seat of the psychic consciousness, linked to what is called Manasa Antahkarana, that bridge we build as we advance along the spiritual path. Consequently, throughout this quest that we are doing all the time, we stimulate the pituitary gland. Then we have the pineal gland, that is the seat of manas tending toward Buddhi manas. So the pineal gland symbolizes the lost spiritual vision within the context of the fourth round. Once a functional third eye, before the descent into generation, it gradually sank inward, was lost, and became atrophied as a direct consequence of humanity's loss of a spiritual sight. When spiritual vision is lost, its organ atrophies, and this confirms the sentence, function creates the organ. I was remembering now that there are some, how how do you call crocodiles, not crocodiles, but lagartos, pequeños lagartos?
Yeah, like lizards.
Lizards that have a third eye, and this third eye is, it is proven, and perhaps you have more information about it. It is the pituitary, this is the pineal gland, but also has photoreception, is a photoreception
Well, even our own pineal gland still has
relationship
visual
with
pigments.
Yeah, and it's related to the cycle of light. Yes, so we have some glimpses that yes, perhaps our pineal gland was an eye, and an eye looking outward, not inward but outward. So there are some vestiges of that. When spiritual vision is lost, well, the organ is atrophied. So the pineal gland represented the direct contact of the soul with the divine principle, enabling in man a form of consciousness that was super spiritual. It was the center that made direct vision possible, the Atma Vidya. In other words, the pineal gland is connected with a link between intellect and pure intuition, with a total intuitive perception of nature. When man descended into the plane of matter, that spiritual vision became obscured. The pineal gland, or what was once the third eye of that early humanity, sunk inward and remained latent. As evolution descending along the arc of matter, the human being became centered in objective consciousness and the personal ego. The emerging mentality eclipsed the primordial spirituality, primordial. The pineal gland being related to manas in its most intuitional aspect, the subtle dimension of mind that connects to or awakens Buddhi, translating its light into symbols, was affected by the growing predominance of kama manas, associated with personal desire and the lower self. In essence, by acquiring individualized mind and self-consciousness, and by distancing himself more and more from intuition through the passing eons, man lost the direct and instinctive perception of a spiritual unit. This new faculty, the intellect, became anchored in matter and in finite external objective perceptions. To recover that lost connection, which materialistic science has completely overlooked, the aspirant to occultism may work toward its reawakening through the many spiritual disciplines that have been proposed throughout the ages. I have more stuff about that, but I would like to know if there is any reflection or comment or questions about this. This is important. As I said, it is not considered in stanza 6, but it is, when you read stanza 6, you have to go to the anthropogenesis, no matter what, and it is very plainly developed there. This topic is very interesting. Yes, honey. Rich.
The pineal gland or pineal gland is associated with the highest aspect of manas, connecting the manas with Buddhi. Is that correct?
Sorry.
Yes.
He said?
Yes.
He asked
He made the
what
question.
you said, yeah.
Yeah.
If the pineal gland is connected to the highest aspect of manas
Yeah.
and Buddhi.
It's clarifying.
It's clarifying. Yes, to Buddhi manas or something like that. Yes. We could say the higher manas tending to Buddhi. The intellect, the finest and more subtle intellect that is already intuition.
So it is part of the principle, the highest aspect of manas,
Yeah.
as opposed to the Buddhi itself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pablo.
In the esoteric instructions, HPV says the pineal gland is connected to higher manas, and when activated by Kundalini, it becomes Buddhi manas.
Mhm.
So that's the awakening that you are
Awakening,
talking about.
yeah. Sorry, you say pineal? I am saying
I
pineal.
think you can say both ways, right?
Yes?
I
I looked for the phonetics and I found both. That's why I'm not sure about that. Okay, so I can continue saying pineal. Do we have any other question or comment? Yes.
So I'm understanding it's a description of the human race, so to speak, and it's a generalization. And how do we account for what we could say the many exceptions, so that the cultures, the more native people who are not so language-based, who are closer to the natural world, who have a very different relationship and see the connectivity of all things, and then the practitioners across cultures, the shamans, the psychics, the clairvoyants. How would you describe their ability that has not been suppressed?
How I would describe these people that is more linked to nature in terms of...
There are psychic abilities that have not been suppressed.
Well, mentality is not replacing their abilities, their subtle abilities, I think. Mentality, intellectual development requires that some other parts in your entire constitution are, as to say, paralyzed. Not all of them can work together unless all of them are already developed, and that is the time in which the integration comes. But before the integration comes, mentality or intellectual thinking has to develop at the cost of paralyzing or putting in latency some other psychic powers we have. I think that could be an explanation for that. Also, these people are more linked to nature. We are far from nature. We are getting far from, and more and more and more disconnected from it. So perhaps that affects also our psychic already powers or faculties. I think so.
In the
Yeah. Yes, Martin. Richard.
the pituitary gland is more connected with the kamic principle.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, it's connected to kama manas, to the lower ego.
Not mainly kamic alone, but also connected with monastic aspect.
Yes, with the personal ego. Am I right? Yes. Yes, this is the function. This is the center, the biological or physiological center for the pituitary gland is the physiological center for kama manas. What we
Thank
call
you.
kama manas. Yes. So ultimately, all such practices that I mentioned before, and certain ways of living closely related to our golden gate, golden stairs, not golden gate, the golden stairs, a clean life, an open mind, an eager intellect, a pure heart, and so on, lead us back to what in broad terms we may call mysticism. And this is a very special topic that I love too much, a lot. The sense of the mystical is perhaps the most beautiful and profound religious emotion that human beings can experience. For example, we have there a scientist as Einstein's stature, who believed in the intrinsic harmony of the universe and was, in essence, a mystic. When we read Einstein's texts, we see a mystic first and then the scientist. It is very, very clear. I have a book with a lot of quotations from his sayings that are not related directly to science, and he was really a mystical person. So mysticism is precisely the movement of critical reason fully illuminated by intuition, the movement of reason toward direct vision impelling us to probe the inexhaustible mystery of reality. That source of mysticism is both also the foundation that drives us, the origin of the process, and the destination toward which it leads us. A double process that gives rise to and leaves behind as a fruit all human culture. Am I being clear of what I want to say? Mysticism is the source of our pulse to look for reality, to seek, and also is our destiny, is what calls for us. It's a double movement, as everything is double in the space, as we have this movement, eternal movement, exhaling and inhaling, and so we have this process in our microcosm. We have a source that pushes us to look for things, for reality, or look for truth, or whatever you want to call it. And also, once we get a little bit of it, we then want to move towards that same source. And in the end, every time we do that process, we create symbols, we create explanations, we create music, we create arts, we create music, many things that are symbols. And all of them, the collection of all of them is our human culture, is the product of this process. The right use then of thought and intellect can bring us to the very threshold of silence, allowing us once again to begin perceiving inner life directly. Manas, when carried to the extreme of its union with intuition, symbolically represents the eye or lens that connects this world of forms and symbols with all its intrinsic finitude, to the world of the formless, the infinite. Its physical correlate is the eye of the spiritual vision, the renewed awakening of the pineal gland as an organ of perception. Blavatsky explains that it will one day reawaken, not as a physical organ necessarily, but as a spiritual faculty, enabling the perception of realities beyond the intellect's reach. What was once a literal organ of vision will then be understood as the awakened intuition, the inner light that perceives truth from within. This awakening will not occur through the denial of reason, but through the transmutation, when intellect becomes transparent to spirit, when thought ceases to be a wall and becomes a window. So I have some final items. I don't know if it is worth it to tackle them, or if you would like to ask to stop here. And yes, Mari.
Just have one addition to that, and that is, I've been reading Brian Swim's a book about touching the center of the cosmos. I can't remember the name of it. And he is also a cosmologist, and he has a chapter in there on the sun, and he said that the sun every day, every second, releases 15 tons of its own radiant body into space.
Yeah.
And he has a beautiful way of suggesting that that has something to do with self-sacrifice, and everything to do with what it means to be human. With the sun, often the organ, even in native traditions, as being the awakening, the rising of light, even in the body, the awakening of something from the depths into our consciousness. And of course that's connected also with the pineal gland, which has some, it is affected by light. So, and even in, I haven't come across in our own theosophical writings, or even in the esoteric writings, anything glorifying the sun.
Yeah.
We talk about, I mean, there's a lot of things about the planets and so forth, and some belong to our chain and some don't, and but what of the sun itself?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And now we're finding out that the sun even breathes. It has its own rhythms of breathing. And anyway, I love Brian Swim's way of even suggesting to us how much we are nourished by this radiance, how much we take into the body every day. And so anyway, those are, I think those are the ways science, especially through cosmology and somewhat through quantum physics, is bringing some of these things home to us.
Yes, I think I agree with you. And what you're saying, Marie, reminds me of a passage in the Secret Doctrine that is very, I like it so much. It is in a part that speaks of, or tells us about lost stuff or lost teachings from the past or something like that. I don't remember the name in Spanish, but perhaps Pablo, do you remember? It is at the end of Argentinian Kier version of Volume 1. Lost teachings of something, and are quotations from the Xi'an book. Archaic teachings. This is not part of the slokas, but are part of the Xi'an book. It is not written by HPB, and there the passage, the text explains how the sun feeds the planetary system with cycles of vitality pulsing each 11 years. And the cycle of 11 years is already known by science today. But think of the times that was written. That was written perhaps hundreds or thousands of years, I don't know. And they already knew about this cycle of the sun breathing and feeding the entire solar system. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Billions of years.
Yeah.
It's sacrificing itself
Yeah.
and renewing itself in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting.
And I have here some more stuff about the sacrifice, now that you're touching that point, that has to do with this Mahaguru that is mentioned, the initiator in the digression. I'd like to say something about that because it has to do with your thought, Maria. So returning now to that Mahaguru, what does it have to do with our small life? No? The great sacrifice is mentioned in the stanza. He is the eternal archetype of all sacrifice, the silent watcher who renounces liberation until the last soul attains it. He embodies the law of compassion, which is the highest law of the universe. Through him, the entire hierarchy of adepts, sages, and initiates finds its center and meaning. He is called the great sacrifice because he remains at the boundary of light and darkness, refusing to cross the threshold until the last pilgrim reaches home. So he is the living symbol of the cosmic sacrifice in earth, the spirit that enters limitation so that limitation may transcend itself. So every human being, every one of us in miniature, reenacts the same act of sacrifice each time he descends into incarnation and redeems it each time he awakens. Okay, he repeats what the great initiator is doing and showing. We don't have much more time left, so I'd like to say some last words and then open for a conversation maybe, okay? So, to conclude, we may say that we have outlined the challenge that the secret doctrine, this is a summary of the talk, the secret doctrine presents a challenge that the I'm so wait please. I ate some cookies and this is karma.
Karma cookies.
I couldn't predict it. So, so my belly. To conclude, we may say that we have outlined the challenge that the secret doctrine presents to the traditional concept of evolution, because it shows that our consciousness is of angelic, as to say, and spiritual origin. It shows that there is a twofold evolution, inner and outer. It shows that the animal forms are, in part, our karmic byproducts in this fourth round, among them the pithecoid ape and all its ancestors. And also, and therefore, that man does not descend in the way formal science maintains. We have seen the cyclic nature of evolution, perhaps as reflections of those abstract and absolute aspects of Parabrahman, motion and duration, or movement and duration. If you combined those aspects, you might have the idea of cyclic evolution. No? Are in the roots of all the doctrine in the proem. Evolution, therefore, is not a simple ascending line, but a cyclic process in which the monad does not evolve by itself, but is carried onward into further incarnation by the ceaseless current of evolution. This entire process is synthesized and contained within the meaning of karma as the one total and universal law. Let us end by recalling that the purpose of a study in theosophy is never merely intellectual, as we have said before. It is to awaken in us the remembrance of what we already have there. Okay? Knowledge becomes sacred only when it transforms perception, when it leads to silence, that inner stillness in which understanding blossoms into wisdom. When thought becomes transparent to the eternal, when the eye of a spirit reopens, when the fallen angels are recognized as redeemers, then the human being will fulfill his destiny, to become a conscious mediator between earth and heaven, a living bridge of light through which the divine contemplates itself in form. So this is the meaning of the reawakening of the spiritual eye, the final reconciliation of spirit and matter, of will and compassion, and of the eternal pilgrim and his home. Now I'm open to any reflections we might have. We have 5 more minutes. I don't know if there are any comments or reflections you want to share. I would love to hear you, really. I don't want to be the only one speaking here. I mean, all the day you have been engaged, so I'm so happy for that. You might be tired.
Not Jerry.
Not Jerry. Jerry is always there.
Yeah,
He's stoked.
I'm anxious to tell you how much I enjoyed the day and how much I appreciate what you've done. You've taken on a Herculean task of entertaining and enlightening us for the entire day. I don't know how many people would want that task. Certainly not I. But I wanted to thank you for that very much. It was very inspiring. Not only did I learn a lot of interesting and insightful things, but the spirit you brought to it, and the open-mindedness and the anxiousness to learn that you exhibit so naturally is a lesson to all of us. And I wanted to thank you for that. You spent a lot of time today, I think, pointing to the possibilities of being human, which I much appreciate. And it was brought to my attention just recently in one of our study groups, a passage from a a poet and an Anglican priest from England, I believe, whose name is McNeill Dixon. And I wanted just to read these 2 or 3 sentences because it fits so well into what you said today about being human. He says, "What a handful of dust is man to think such thoughts. Or is he perchance a prince in misfortune, whose speech at times betrays his birth? I like to think that if men are machines, they are machines of a celestial pattern, which can rise above themselves, and to the amazement of the watching gods, acquit themselves as men. I like to think that this singular race of indomitable, philosophizing, poetical beings, resolute to carry the banner of becoming to unimaginable heights, may be interesting to the gods as they are to us, and that they will stoop to admit these creatures of promise into their divine society." Thanks a lot.
That's very beautiful, Jerry, and thanks a lot for your kind words at the beginning. Thank you so much.
Can we have the name again?
The name, Jerry, the name of the owner, the author.
McNeill Dixon, and we have it on the Universal Theosophy website. I'll send a link to you, Elena.
Okay.
McNeill.
William McNeill Dixon.
William McNeill. Okay.
Dixon.
Dixon. Okay. Anyone else, or are we finished today? Martin, do you have anything on your? No. You're not obligated to.
Oh, okay.
No.
No, I appreciated it, like
Okay.
Jerry, the point of view that you brought to the Secret Doctrine in stanza 6 is very good. It's very vast text, that stanza.
Yes.
I like the scientific view to it.
Thank
It's
you.
very good.
Thank you
To
very
see it
much.
with a scientific eye, and that's very important.
Yeah, the book is, for me, is a magical book, you know. And the way to approach Secret Doctrine is, first of all, humility, an open mind, and then the book itself speaks. And it has happened to me that with time, the ideas get some kind of shape or form inside me. It's not something that you just think of it. With time, something is created inside you, and you have the certainty of the existence of that. But it takes. This is like a massage. You know, you have to go again and again and again, and also with a very special attitude to it, and it responds. It's lovely. It's a beautiful masterpiece.
Did you find the Secret Doctrine before you found the society,
No,
or after you found the
after I
society?
found Society.
Okay.
The first book I read was Light on the Path, and that was a trigger for so many things, and I jumped into the Secret Doctrine directly. And the first,
The Light on the Path.
the Light on the Path, drive me to the Secret Doctrine. Yes, and yes, I haven't stopped reading since then. I love it. I know all of us here love it, for sure. Okay.